Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Last weekend I had the chance to play at one of the more iconic clubs in the city, and that's Marquee, New York. I posted the full set recording last week, so check that out if you haven't. But in this video, I'm going to take you through my entire process. From prepping my set, to the gear I rely on to record the set, capture content. I'll break down my entire setup, how I get into the right mindset beforehand. I'll break down the setup at the club. I'll also share some behind the scenes footage for what actually goes on backstage. First up, preparing the set. For me, every gig starts way before I actually arrive at the venue. It could be days, weeks of prep. A lot of people ask how I come up with my set lists, especially for bigger nights like these, and here's the answer. It's a mix of knowing my music, which is house, techno, bass house. 2 is being able to read a crowd, which is a very important aspect of being a DJ. And number 3, and most importantly, and that is knowing my place in the lineup. In this case, I was opening the entire club, so my set started at doors. And when you're playing at doors, there's usually at least one person after you before the headliner goes on. So your job at that time is to set the tone. It's supposed to warm up the club. You're not supposed to bang too hard with your music because your job as an opener is to warm up the room for the next artist. In this case, I was not direct support. I was at doors, so I was starting right when the club opened. So you could imagine blasting some really high energy music as soon as people walk in the door and there's no one there. That's not really what you want. People are starting to come in when the doors are opening. Your job is to slowly increase the energy and hand it off to the next person in the lineup. So you're kind of working as a team. For some reason in the industry, that's controversial. That's my opinion, and that's how I believe an opener DJ should perform. You got to be able to know your place in the lineup. It is super important. It makes a night cohesive. It makes it much more memorable for those people in the crowd. Organization is key when preparing for a set, because if you do not prepare properly for a set, it is going to reflect in your performance. Unfortunately, I've learned that the hard way. I feel like we all have. Organization and preparation is going to save your life when you're on stage. I use Rekordbox to arrange and plan my sets. Rekordbox is the software that's used on the club industry standard, and that's Pioneer CDJs. Pioneer CDJs, that's usually at every single club. Rekordbox is the software that's on that equipment, so it only makes sense to prepare your sets on that same software. You're able to export into your USBs, take that USB, plug it into the CDJ as soon as you arrive, and everything is there loaded for you. I create a playlist specifically for each gig, so for Marquee, I had a set list tailored for the energy of my time slot. Since I was early on in the lineup, I did have to keep my set a bit more tame than usual. Start with a bit lower energy, and then slowly work my way up to the higher energy tracks as the room started to fill. And looking out into the crowd, I'm able to see how people are reacting to certain music. If I need to bring up the energy more, I'll bring it up. If I need to slow it back, people aren't ready to dance yet, then I'll do that too. In this case, I included some recent hits mixed with my own edits. This gave the crowd something familiar yet unique, but not, peak time bangers. It wasn't ready for that yet. Next, let's talk about the gear. For clubs like Marquee, they use a setup that is pretty standard to the industry, and that's a set of Pioneer CDJ 3000s, and for the mixer, they use a DJing 900. Most clubs have this setup, so all I needed to do was bring in my preloaded USB that I set up at home in Rekordbox, and I was ready to go. I'm always comfortable using the Pioneer gear when I show up because I'm able to test my USBs. I just plug them in at home before I leave just to make sure everything is set up, nothing's corrupted. So as soon as I arrive, I'm good to go. What I'm actually bringing to the club are my headphones, my USBs, GoPro camera to record the set right at the deck level. This has a wide angle lens so it can kind of see everything on the deck, so I place this right in front of me. Some backup batteries for the GoPro and the camera, more backup USBs, backup camera batteries, earplugs. I use loop earplugs. They save my life. In order to capture the audio for my set, I use the DJing recording app. I just plug this right into the mixer, and it captures all the audio that comes out of there, so that's how I get the high quality recordings for my DJ set. I'll bring this extra light just in case. Just a simple. This is just so if there's bad lighting in the club, where there usually is, I can slap this on top of my GoPro to make sure that I'm getting a good video. Because for the most part, there's the light in the club is not ideal, so we have to either get a better lens, which is more expensive, or just throw some lights on it the cheaper way. Before my sets, to get into the right headspace, I like to listen to smooth jazz. I don't know, I've just been doing it for years now. I did it for my first few sets, it really calms me down. I don't really get nervous for these sets anymore, but in the very beginning, I had some stage fright, and the smooth jazz always calmed me down, so I just kind of keep that ritual before every set. So I went up there and DJed for an hour. You can see exactly how it went by the last video. Everything went well. It was really great. The hospitality was awesome. Marquee is a really cool club. They had my visuals up on the screen behind me. I put my girlfriend to work. I gave her this camera, and she was all over the venue, running around in her Halloween costume capturing. She got some great angles. She's a natural. I'll be giving her this camera for every set going forward now. Lately, I've invested in my own camera gear. Now I can bring my girlfriend, or I can bring my friend who I know is good with the camera, give him this camera, and he can run around the venue getting good pictures and videos of me all night. The camera I'm using is a Sony ZV-E10. I just got this 1.4 aperture lens, so my next gig in like 2 weeks from now, I'll see how the low light turns out, but this kit lens from the Sony ZV-E10 actually, it fared pretty well in the low light at Marquee. So we'll see how this one works next. I remember specifically for this set, the room filled up much faster than I thought it was going to. A few people rolled in the beginning at doors when it started, but like 20 minutes in, the room was pretty packed, and then towards the end of my set, the room was almost filled. So what I had to do was adjust. I started off pretty slow, as I mentioned before. I would say chiller, not slow. I started around 125 beats per minute. Slowly made my way up to 128 beats per minute. As the room was filling up, I started to increase the energy in the set, and that's where the preparation comes in, because I honestly prepared for that set. I thought no one was going to be there, but since it filled up much quicker than it did, fortunately, in my preparation, I had a bunch of tracks in there where when the room starts to fill up unexpectedly, I can have a lot of tracks to choose from, and I know tracks that will work in that room to build my way up. I have been in situations where I was not prepared for the set, and then, as I said before, it just absolutely is shown in your performance. And then you train wreck, and that's usually how a train wreck starts. It's just a lack of preparation, so always over prepare. I was able to play my song Drowning for the first time live since it was released, and man, that was cool. That track banged live, and I'm really excited. I saw people dancing, which is a really cool feeling for a song that I make. So overall, it was a fantastic night. The hospitality was great. After I finished, chatted it up with some of the staff. Stayed for a little while. I had a long day the next day, so I had to peel out a bit early. For this night, I was opening up for Kashmir. I was on at doors, and there was another act after me in between us. I heard great things about the artist after me, and Kashmir, he's Kashmir, so he's always gonna, blow the roof off the place. I actually just got booked for a gig in LA this weekend, so I'll be heading out there. I'll be documenting the whole thing here. I'm super excited. I have a private event this Friday, and then after that, I'm flying out to LA on Saturday, my first out-of-state gig, so I'm excited for that. And then the weekend after that, I'm playing at Musica in New York City on 50th Street with Bijou. I'm going back to back with my friend Kyogre. Super excited for that. So if you're around in New York City, come hang. It'll be a good time. Let's look into my process. I hope it helps some other people out there. Or for those who are just curious, that's how I do it. What other questions do you have for preparing for a DJ set? I'd love to answer them. I hope you're liking the channel so far. So like, subscribe, comment, share it with your friends. Let's keep it going. I'm excited to keep doing this. So I'm having a blast doing this. Let's see how it goes. Thanks everyone. Talk to you soon. Peace.